Yes, I can.
We'll do a redo.
No, there's no redo.
But we're going to also go distance.
There's no distance. I can't go distance. No, we said it's a race.
Maddie's been actually training to run a marathon. So I think she was talking about it. And I think David, in his true fashion, is like, well, I could run a marathon. He's charming, but he definitely has an ego.
But he's going to pull a hamstring. Hey, you're an endurance race.
Okay.
I'm like a cheetah.
Do you think this is like Maddie challenging you? Do you think this is like a rite of passage?
I don't know if it's a rite of passage.
Hi, besties. There were a couple times in this most recent episode where the friction between Janelle and Christine was obvious. And it could be that they're grieving, but no. I would say that this friction that they have has been something that's been in their relationship for decades. Janelle has a certain way of how she does things. She's more reserved and she's much more of an introvert. She has always said that Christine's over-the-top behavior and sort of over-the-top personality was embarrassing to her. She often has, spoken about how much of a princess and a diva Christine is. And for Christine's part, she is called Janelle bossy. And that Janelle, in her book, describes a relationship where she felt she was being taken advantage of by Janelle. Even though Janelle was working, there was like this expectation that Christine had to do everything for her kids. And then when Christine or Janelle got home, that wasn't a mutual agreement. Like Janelle wasn't going out of her way to help Christine with her kids when Christine needed help. And in the book, Christine writes about, one of the reasons why she didn't want to live at Coyote Pass and she didn't want to live in one house was because she felt like she would get back into a situation where she would be around Mary. But also, she would be in a situation with Janelle where Janelle would start wanting to do projects like, say, that garden. And then once the garden got started, it would be on Christine to keep it going. Like Christine was always the one that had to implement whatever Janelle wanted. And Christine got really sensitive to the fact that everyone called her a princess because why is she being called a princess? And there was just weird history between the two of them. They had kids that got along, and that's kind of what kept them together. And then they commiserated in their unhappiness towards the end of their marriage with Cody, and then they both left. And now Christine has a new husband, and Janelle has this way of, she doesn't say things to Christine's face. She doesn't confront Christine, but then she'll make comments in her talking heads that are really passive aggressive. And then Christine is equally, I think, I don't know if it's insecure or it's that underlying animosity or that underlying tension that exists in their relationship. But I know that in interviews, Christine and Janelle have said that they've had to really work at this friendship because they have a history, right? They have a history with each other and it's hard not to take things personally. And then they're asked questions by producers. And Christine was expressing like almost a little bit of jealousy maybe about Janelle getting this North Carolina place and then kind of downplaying it. And then Janelle kind of digging back at her. But it started in the beginning of the episode with Janelle making comments about David. Check this out.
Talking about it, and I think David, in his true fashion, is like, well, I could run a marathon. He's charming, but he definitely has an ego. And Cody always had such a big personality and such a big presence, right? And David is the same. He's got a big personality. He's full of bluster. He's kind of like, I can do it better, like all that. Like, I mean, he's just that guy.
I think David's confident. Cody is very confident as well. He's confident. It's funny. I've always preferred someone who's a little bit like very confident.
Now, I understand that they're talking about a race, so maybe she's trying to describe why he would race Maddie. Well, it's pretty simple. They needed content for the show, and it made good content. David also seems like the kind of guy that likes to do playful things with kids. And his way of connecting is doing like competitions and just being playful. I've noticed this about him. And I thought it was an interesting choice of words with what she said there. She said that David has an ego. He's charming, but he has an ego. So she's saying he's cocky. When he was saying, I'm like a cheetah, it seemed like silly, like he was being funny, like he's being playful, right? But then so it's when someone's like layers a compliment and then with a but. So it's like, he's charming, but he has an ego. And then she talks about how his personality is bluster and he's just cocky, I guess is what she's trying to imply, or he's just that guy, right? That guy. And he has a big personality, and so does Cody. And I just thought, what a weird way to describe David. Sure, for a race, yes, but I've noticed far more about David than just having a blustery personality. And by the way, I had to look up what blustery even meant, and apparently it's kind of an insult, according to AI. It suggests that someone is aggressive, boastful, or threatening, or they use like threatening words without real authority. It implies that a person is all talk and trying to intimidate or impress others to hide their own weakness or lack of confidence. So on the one hand, she says that he's ego, and then the other hand, she says that it's all talk, it's just to intimidate, and it's to cover up his weakness. A false bravado, false courage, swagger, arrogance and bullying, ineffectiveness. The word bluster dismisses a person as weak, foolish, and unimpressive despite an aggressive delivery. I don't use these words. I don't know the word bluster. I've never described anyone as bluster. I would probably call that cocky, maybe. I don't know. But I didn't sense that interaction with him being blustery. And I don't like the way that she compared him to Cody. It almost feels like an unfair comparison because Cody's mean. I don't see David as mean. David is like so sensitive to Christine. He's very sensitive to what she goes through. Even when they described their first year of marriage, he was discussing how hard it was for them because of Garrison's death and how hard it was for him to watch everyone go through such big emotions and such struggles with it because he didn't know them. He didn't know Garrison that well. So he's like just married and then this child dies and he's trying to help her through that. And that comes with grief. He was so sympathetic during that. He comes off as funny and engaging. He has a much more like a positive affect than Cody does. I don't know. And then you can tell when Christine's asked about it, she's almost like taken aback, like, oh, I mean, I guess, yeah, I do like confident people, but I don't see them as having the same personality. Cody seems more like cocky, arrogant, and just full of himself. David's like more playful. But that's how Janelle does things. She says something nice and then she puts it she uses the word but, and then she uses like an obtuse or obscure word that's actually an insult, but she says it in a nice way. So it sounds nice, but it's actually not. And this is why I think they have problems in the family because this is how they communicate. And then later, when they're at the property, then Christine has her own sort of jabs at Janelle.
But Janelle would love to have, this be where the whole family gathers. Absolutely. I also want my house to be the place where everybody gathers. Just saying, we could have like some sort of a gang war kind of between Janelle and I a little bit. Like, who's going to get more people? She's winning right now, by the way. There is nothing in North Carolina that I'm even interested in. No. This is raw land. There's really nothing appealing here.
I actually can kind of understand where Christine is coming from because Janelle said that she wants to develop this Tata Farms as like a gathering place for all of the kids. But Janelle has never been the one in the family that brings people together. That was always what Christine did. And so Christine, I think in a way almost feels like maybe her territory is getting stomped on maybe. And also Christine recognizes this for what it is, raw land that takes a very long time to develop, that has no infrastructure, that has to have tons and tons of acres cleared to do what they want to do. Clearing takes time. And then you have to bring in infrastructure. You have to go to the county for permits. Nothing goes fast in the South. And just to give you an understanding, they bought this in the spring of 2024. They just got permits to break ground on their house last month. They haven't done anything on the farm side yet. They're still trying to build a house. So Christine sees it for what it is, and Janelle sees the opportunity. Now, it might actually get done and executed because Maddie's a part of it, but I don't know that it's going to get executed and done because of Janelle. Janelle has a lot of ideas, but she's admittedly always said that she relies on others to execute the ideas. But Janelle found it a little bit insulting that Christine pointed out that this would be a lot of work.
Christine is not a homesteader. She just wants to live in her very comfortable house in the suburbs. Look, I'm not trying to compete about who gathers where the most. I feel like having a really great place that is big enough to accommodate all of us, that's the goal, is to find a space that we can all hang out that's big enough, wherever that is.
Cheers to the dream and cowboy on the
Cheers. We're just gonna cowboy this.
I think it's really funny. She always tries to paint Christine like she's like this prissy woman that just wants to have a nice house in the suburbs. There's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of people in this country just want a house in the suburbs. I mean, that doesn't make her less than. And I also noticed that she said she's not a homesteader. In fairness, neither is Janelle. Janelle has never been a homesteader. Literally ever. Janelle grew up in the city. She went to college in the city. When they lived in Wyoming, they lived on a farm and they lived on the ranch, and they weren't really homesteading. They lived in like a trailer. Janelle moves out. She buys her own house. Then they live in Lehigh. Again, no homesteading. Then they live in Vegas. No homesteading. And then they live in Flagstaff. Again, no homesteading. And then when she does move out to Coyote Pass, Janelle is going to live in an RV, completely overestimates how easy it'll be, underestimates the struggle it will be because there's no water, there's no utilities, can really think of like all of it that it's going to entail, just thinks it's going to be this perfect, blissful experience, only lasts a couple months on the property and then leaves. So she also then moved into a nice apartment, right? That was easy. And even while they're quote unquote homesteading, now they're not even homesteading. She lives in the city, a small city with Caleb and Maddie. She lives in Caleb and Maddie's home in a city, in a suburb. So she's not a homesteader either. She has an idea of wanting to be a homesteader, but she's not. And even in North Carolina, sure, it would be called a homestead, but it's not like a remote homestead. Like, this isn't going to be a place where they're going to be sustainably able to produce all of their own food and have all of their own meat and have all of their own resources to make clothing. I mean, you'd have to go into parts of Alaska, I guess, if you wanted to get back to like true homesteading, or maybe even in pockets of the West on a ranch. But North Carolina, it's not rough. It's not roughing it. It'll take a while to get it established. It's just, it's just strange that even within the show, they're constantly being asked to compare. And I don't know that they don't know how to compete with one another because it's all they've done. So it's like almost ingrained in their minds. I mean, Christine has managed to do a lot in the last several years. She and David built a house. They have purchased 3 vacation rentals, which have become a good source of passive income. She has written a book that's now a New York Times bestseller. And she has also, managed to find stability for her daughter and also take Cody to court for child support. Janelle talked about suing Cody and going to court, never did. It took way longer than necessary than it should have to get everything divided. it's just, there's something very odd about the way that they both feel like that they have to still like compete. But here in this episode, I saw a lot more of Janelle kind of insulting David and Christine's relationship, really Christine almost feeling like a little bit sensitive, and then Janelle wanting to somehow now be the person that creates a gathering spot for the family when that's never been how she's been before. So I guess if I were to say I understand why Christine feels this way, I kind of do, because Christine probably feels like Janelle is stepping into her territory and trying to do what she has done for years. And maybe she feels that by Janelle doing this, it's going to take away from her experience. When the reality is that with a family this big, there's not going to be one gathering spot. You are not even one family anymore. You are multiple different families. And so obviously there's going to be different locations that people meet for different times. But no one place is going to be the gathering place because they're never going to live together in the same state. If Janelle and Maddie and Caleb are committed to North Carolina, that's where they're going to be. And it's obvious that Christine and David are very committed to being in Utah. And so these like overlapping weird dynamics are just, it's just odd conflict that's added to a storyline that is ultimately kind of boring. But it's fun to see them dream big. It's fun to see Janelle have some dreams and have some success away from Cody. But the friction between Janelle and Christine, it's just, you can't ignore it. It's there. And that's why I've said I don't think they're best friends. I don't even think they're really like friends. They're just like sister wives still. I don't know if that makes sense. I think they like each other. I don't think they're like family. That's the best way of saying it. They're like sisters. That would be a good way of saying it. You know, like, you've got a sibling and you love them, but you don't always like them. That's kind of how I like put their relationship. And like when you're siblings and you're competing for your parents' affection, and they were wives competing for Cody's affection. So it's like sibling rivalry. It's like sister rivalry now in a way. So I don't know if you noticed that conflict or not, but I did. And I just hope that, if this is grief for Janelle or not, but I hope that in time she finds her happiness and what she wants. She's had a really rough year. And yeah, I don't think David's blustery, but that's just me. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.